Hey guys, we're out my shop today. I had to move my QT60. I had to get it off of the primary location because at 60 watts, it's just not strong enough. So unfortunately, I'm not using my favorite radio because that QT60 is my favorite radio in my collection. I had to disconnect that and move it over. So right now it's connected to my half-wave end-fed, the homemade antenna. But that one's going to be for monitoring because I had to put my QT80 in line. I needed more power. I was running that little Shooting Star 225 on that power supply. And on this power meter on the 2000 watt scale, I was seeing 150, 160 out of it. Which, hey, that's fine. On the 200 watt scale, it would peak around 200. But the 2000 watt scale was a little more stingy, and at the most it showed about 160. But now, oh, we got that bad boy. I traded with a friend of mine. I gave him my brand new President Washington, and he gave me that amplifier. Isn't that sweet? Single GI7B Russian tube in that. And that one tube is all I need. Let me go over here. I'm going to key up this radio, and I'm going to show you power output from just the radio. Looks like, 85, 90 watts. Accidentally pressing the channel up and down button on the microphone. Sometimes almost touching that 100. So we're going to say it's about 90 watts. It's the bottom of those lines. The bottom set of numbers just above that power. That bottom set of lines is what we're looking at. I'm going to call that about 90 watts. All right, let's bump that up. We're now on the 2000 watt scale. And for this amplifier, I got to use a foot pedal. It does not have automatic keying. It has to be keyed up with a foot pedal. So let's check. Here we go. Oh, it helps if I turn on the keyer. I didn't hear that relay click. All right. I'm going to call that, 650 to 700. We're now looking at the top lines on that 2000 watt scale. And it is almost halfway between the 500 and the 1000. I'm going to call that about 700 watts. 700 watts with 90 watts driving it. All right. I don't use AM, but whenever I do a video like this, somebody always asks me, what does it do on AM? I still have that power turned all the way up. All the way. Let's put that back on the 2000 watt scale. Let me show you what it's doing. Oh, it looks like we got about a 28 watt dead key. So we're going to put a 28 watt dead key into that amplifier. Now let me show you what it does for swing. It looks like about 80 watts, just what that radio is supposed to be doing. So again, about 90 on sideband and 80 on AM. That camera will focus. Now, we're going to key up that big box. If I can get those light reflections off of the screen there. All right, I'm going to key it up and then give some modulation. Oh, we're still on that 200 watt scale. That won't do. Let's put it on that 2000. And it looks like we're keying up at about 100 watts. Now let's put some modulation into it. And on AM, with a 28 watt dead key and 75 watts of swing, it looks like we're getting about 600 out of it on AM. Maybe a little bit more, but right around 600 on AM. But again, I don't use AM. I use upper and lower sideband. Check that out one more time. Full power out of the QT80. And I'm going to call that about 700 watts. That thing is fantastic. All right, there was one more thing I traded with that guy. Justin was really good, treated me well. I treated him pretty well too. Let me show you what else I got with that amplifier. So I traded him the Washington even for the amp. And then I had a couple of small ham radio antennas. And I traded him for 5 of these 5 styrofoam containers. Inside of these styrofoam containers, look at this. Oh, can I get it out of there with one hand? Hang on. Hey, did you hear it pop? It had a vacuum seal in that styrofoam. I got 5 spare tubes. 5 of them. These are brand new in the package. So if I do something stupid, or that 90 watts after a while just wears out the poor tube, I have 5 spares. So I'm not afraid to put a lot of power into that amplifier, because if I end up wearing out that tube, that's all right. I've got a whole bunch more. Neat little containers too that they come in. Look at that, they fit snugly right inside of that styrofoam, and the cap goes on and they are protected. I got 5 of these things. All right, guys, that's a GI7B single tube Russian tube, being driven by 90 watts on sideband, 75 on AM, and it's kicking ass. All right, guys, I thank you for watching, and you should be able to hear me on the air now. 73s.